Hey, you're not going to believe what we learned this week talking to the president and CEO of the All-American Soapbox Derby. Well, hello, I'm Rich Johnson. Welcome back to Champion's Journey. As many of you may know, I am a regional director in the International Soapbox Derby. I represent Region 1, which is the Pacific Northwest states and Alaska. Through that position, I had the awesome opportunity over the last week to visit out here in Camano Island, Washington, with our International Soapbox Derby President and CEO, Mark Gerberich. Mark took the time to come out here and join me for lunch and meet the people who run our club, the Eagle family and others, and some of the great volunteers that helped make that race possible, and support us in a big fundraiser that raised quite a bit of money for the race this summer and our ability to send our champions back to Akron for the All-American. Mark shared with us a whole bunch of thoughts here around what's going on in the world of Derby, what's going on at the track in Akron, some of the great attributes around science, technology, engineering, and math, and wanted to share those with you, so come on along. Well, welcome to Champion's Journey. Today we've got the honor of having with us Mark Gerberich, the President and CEO of the All-American Soapbox Derby. Like to just have a conversation around Soapbox Derby here and get to know Mark a little bit.
That's great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hey Mark, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Soapbox Derby.
Yeah, so I grew up a sports junkie, and I've worked in the industry for 35 years. Started out in professional bowling, and then managed indoor sports facilities, and then did some sales on the road to major big box retailers. But Soapbox is really important to the Akron community, and so as I started trying to figure out how I want to end my career, it was the perfect thing. And then a friend of mine, Joe Mazer, was running the Derby.
Oh yeah.
And Joe left. Yeah. And then long process to get the job, but really excited to be there.
I'm glad you took it. And I'd argue it's important to the whole United States, not just Akron.
No, I think it really, really is. It's really important to the tradition of kids and what's going on in today's world.
Yeah, it's an American institution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we're here today at a sponsors event for our local Soapbox Derby club. Mark, tell us some of the things that make Soapbox Derby attractive to sponsors.
Well, first, I'm just really glad to be here. It's very exciting that you guys built the track here. You have the support of the sponsorship community, and anybody that can invest in kids in today's world, I think is the coolest thing in the world. Right, so being able to invest in kids, giving them experiential learning opportunities, competition, knowledge, character, and leadership is a great opportunity to invest in America's future.
For sure. Thank you. One of the great things about Derby is the hands-on STEM experience. Science, technology, engineering, and math that kids get building and racing these cars. Mark, what are some of your thoughts about how kids can leverage this experience in Derby when it comes time to apply to college or trade schools?
Well, there's great opportunities, right? First, they're learning to use tools. They're learning to use their hands. They're learning by doing, right? We talked about perseverance earlier and how hard it is to win when you first start racing. So kids that can really take something and build it and make it their own, it gives them, number one, confidence, right? It gives them this great sense of self.
Teaches perseverance.
It really does.
Yeah.
And then utilizing that to be an engineer or to go to a trade school, or they're so far ahead of everybody else that's coming into this field, and it gives them a great advantage when they're applying for schools.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I really like about the offerings of the Derby is we have everything from the stock kits, which is just screwdrivers and a few basic tools, all the way up through Masters and Legacy, where you can do carbon fiber or aerospace type materials. So you've got this continuum of experiences with that hands-on, and I can tell you firsthand through Ronan, his work on his car figured into his applying to an aerospace mechanics program, and that was a really awesome thing we were able to do because of Derby.
Well, and you saw it start to finish, right? I mean, you take the stock kit and you build it and you work with your parent.
Yeah.
And when you're young, yeah, the father or mother might be doing more work on the car than you were, right? And then as you continue to grow, you have your own ideas on how you're going to win and how you're going to make your car faster. And then by the time you get to this legacy division, and I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, but that really gives you the opportunity to expand those horizons and be able to do some things that you can't normally do with a kit car.
Yeah, it's really a unique parent and child experience to work on those together. Really a great opportunity. Hey, a topic that's near and dear to my heart here is the Legacy Division. And we've built a car in that division, and we're fortunate to compete in the first championship last year. Mark, what are your thoughts around how Legacy and the hands-on STEM and the aspect of also having a car that fits larger kids, older kids, how's that fit into the overall World Championship experience, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? We saw a number of people take advantage of the first Legacy opportunity last year, and most of the kids were larger kids, right?
3 of them were 6 feet.
Yeah, so as you're going around the country, you're seeing kids that say, oh, I want to race, but I can't race anymore because I can't get in the car. Can you imagine that we haven't kept up with that? So that's the first piece of it, is that we're giving kids that want to race, that are too big to race in a regular stock, super stock, or Masters car, the chance to race. But then this whole Legacy piece gives kids this great opportunity to investigate and to try different things and play with different bodies.
Aerodynamics and the axle mounts and really kind of old school building and designing. Or you can go, with the standard design that's offered there too. So it doesn't have to be over the top, but it gives a good continuum of opportunities.
And I think that's the word, right? You've used it a couple times, but that continuum of learning is something that we want to provide in the Soapbox Derby, and Legacy provides that.
Yeah, it was a great partnership to be able to pull that together.
Yeah.
Mark, there are clubs in something like 110 U.S. cities, 35 or so states, and even a few foreign countries. You've had the opportunity in your role now for 3 years in this job to visit a number of them. What are some of the challenges you've seen in the local race organizations, and your ideas about how we can tackle them?
Well, so the number one thing is that none of the locals are the same. So as you go from place to place to place, everybody has their own idea on how they're going to make it successful.
Yeah.
So some places have cars that they provide for all the kids, and they don't want anybody from outside their city. Somebody else is wide open and they want as many kids in their local race as they can possibly get.
Yeah.
So the challenge is, and what we've done is we've set up a Facebook page so people can share different ideas that are successful.
Oh, okay, perfect.
There's, there aren't as many directors on there.
Is that your main All-American Facebook page?
There's a separate dedicated website.
I'll get a link from you and we'll put it in the comments on the video here.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a closed page just to the race directors.
Oh, okay.
And so what it does is if you're having an individual problem, the key for us is just trying to get more kids that want to race.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean, that whole recruiting tool, I'm pretty successful inside my church because there's a number of kids that want to work with their dads to build cars.
Sure.
But if you can get a couple kids from Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or 4-H or your church or schools, that's going to be the main main thing that's going to make you successful.
Yeah,
But
I've seen clubs that have ranged all the way from being a 1 or 2 person show to being a big, like our Camano Stanwood race here is really a community activity. We're here tonight to celebrate a lot of our sponsors and volunteers, and different strokes for different folks.
well, the 3 challenges, right? Getting more people to participate, generating the dollars you need to run the race, and then number 3, and we talked about it all afternoon, is how do you get volunteers to come out and hump cars all day, to really give back to the community and the kids.
Helps to have no lift trailers. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, no lift trailers. I'm into it.
All right. Well, thanks to some generous sponsorship that we have for the Derby, Timken Bearings recently made a very generous donation to help with the track. And for those that haven't been to Derby Downs, it's just the finest facility anywhere to race gravity cars. If you have not gone back there, you have to go back. It's got to be on your bucket list, even as an observer, but better yet as a racer. What are some of the thoughts, Mark, around how you guys might use a little bit of the money? You had the awesome digital scoreboards that you added last year. That was a really nice improvement. Thanks, Chris Harris and others that worked on that. And what are you thinking about the next things that you might be looking at?
Well, we want to make it a world-class facility, just like any other sporting event, right?
Yeah.
You go to a game, the scoreboards that are there now are really cool.
Yeah.
So one of the things for me is I love when you see the world champion win, and there's so few people that get to see that. So if there's some way that we can project that back to the fans, that would just be awesome when your name's announced as the world champion and you make that reaction in front. So, like you said, First Energy's back. They have a 5-year, $1.3 million contract that they just signed.
Thank you, First Energy.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Timken gave us a capital grant that's going to be used for sidewalks and then paving the track. So there's a lot of blocking and tackling that needs to get done yet with the track and with the property, because there haven't been investments made at Derby Downs for the last 20 years. So first is going to be sidewalks and track, right? But then everybody has their own list of things that need to get done, right? The grand entrance way.
I like the vision you had earlier today about, entering like you did back in the day with the big grand entrance to say this is the gate through which champions travel, that sort of thing would be cool.
Yeah, that would be a great one. Paved parking. For the women coming back there, a flush toilet. A Hall of Fame that is representative of the longevity of the Soapbox Derby, an education building. So a number of things. We're hopeful to make $5 to $10 million in renovations over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's a slow process, isn't it?
It's hard work.
It is,
right?
but some of the visions you have there are really inspiring. A Hall of Fame, that come a long ways with the Hall of Fame in the Blue Barn, but there's still a lot of mementos and that tell the 83-year history of this sport that would be awesome to have. Properly. I think it could be a tourist destination.
I think it can be, and part of that for us is that we use that building during the winter to store cars.
Yeah.
So then it's off limits for half the season.
Yeah.
So if we can grow this out a little bit, I think it'll be pretty exciting over the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, exciting times.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Here, I'll put you on the spot. What's the coolest single thing you've seen since being CEO and president of the Soapbox Derby?
Yes, it's all about the kids for me, right? I'm out there every Sunday morning high-fiving every single family that's coming through the gates, and that's really who I am, right? It's all about making those kids and those champs feel special when they come to the Soapbox Derby. So, there's a couple stories. I was up in New Hampshire, and there's a young boy there who's struggling just to try and fit in, and they give this award for the nicest or the best sport
That's awesome.
of the day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this kid is sitting there in the front row, and they announce his name, and this bright smile comes across his face, and that's a cool one. I went down to Kentucky, and one of the champs got out of school early, let's say. So the parents allowed this kid to get out of school early. So
You might have done that once or twice, I'm just saying.
So he could come see me. And so it was the greatest thing, right? He's hiding behind his parents. And he was one of my favorite kids at the track this past year. And so, it's just a relationship with the kids. And watching them, grow up and mature, but make friends and have those relationships too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of memories from our time in Derby.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's what Soapbox Derby is all about, right? It's the relationships with the families, it's the relationship with these kids. These kids are going to have these great friends the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I've run into more than one or two people who've actually met in Derby and got married later in life. That's happened more than one time. Yeah. So that's pretty amazing stories.
Yeah.
Hey, if you like what you're seeing here, please hit subscribe, ring the bell to be notified of new videos, give us a thumbs up, and share with your friends. All right, Mark, here's a little different curveball for you.
Curveball.
I understand you were involved in professional bowling as both a competitor and organizer. Is there anything from that part of your life that you've been able to bring to the All-American Soapbox Derby?
Yeah, so the thing that I talk about with the Derby is just teaching kids life skills, right? How do we teach kids life skills that they can use for the rest of their lives? And we've seen it in bowling, right? How do you win? How do you lose? How do you persevere? How do you work hard? How do you learn things? How do you invest time and energy and that pays you back? And those skills that those kids have will have the rest of their lives and impact them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, on that note, an aha moment for me when we were a few years into the sport was meeting a family from California, and the father said, I dropped my son off at a restaurant so he can go in and sell them on the value package of sponsoring him. Because when we're done racing, the racing's going to be gone, but he will have a life skill of being able to put himself in the shoes of the sponsor and to sell a package. So I thought, wow, he's getting a lot more out of Derby than just racing cars down the hill here.
Correct. So, yeah, there's a lot more to it, right? We talked about the camaraderie, but failing, not making excuses, right? How do you win? How do you lose? How do you get along with others? Is going to be really important to them the rest of their lives.
For sure. Thanks. All right, headed into our 83rd year of racing in the All-American Soapbox Derby. What are some of the exciting things on the horizon for your organization, Mark?
Yeah, so I think we really need to build that community of racers back. We need to get the fans coming out to the track. We have a strong strategic plan that we have in place, but strengthening the race locals, getting more people to come out to the Derby. But then it's, thinking big, having good vision and thinking internationally. So, right now we're kind of stuck. This coronavirus is having some effect on us in China. The Australia fires are having some effect on us there. But, really thinking about this as an international competition is going to be really, really important as we move forward. And then really growing our education programs and our STEM. And now, as we talked about earlier, we're coming up with an autonomous division. So kids in school that are coding and programming, it's not remote control, right? So don't think about it as video games, but it's kids that can program and race cars against each other. So it's almost like a science Olympiad type event. And we're very excited about the prospects for that.
Yeah, good way to combine an interest in robotics with gravity racing.
Yeah, and I know I always say that gravity racing provides a separate variable. Well, obviously, you being the engineer, gravity is not a variable. But if you have a autonomous race car that's battery powered or electronically powered, then that's a whole different thing compared to gravity. So it gives you a whole new opportunity to play with and learn from.
Well, hey, I want to just give you a warm welcome to the Pacific Northwest and our Champions Journey channel. Thank you for coming out to see our Arrowhead Ranch track here and be with us for sponsors event tonight here. It's really special to have you here, Mark.
Yeah, thanks. It's great what you guys are doing here, and congratulations on all the success.
Yeah, let's get 100 cars out here this year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Most of you know that we have the Arrowhead Ranch Foundation. That is the basically what we run the Soapbox Derby through. And I wanted to share the mission of the Arrowhead Ranch Foundation while we're all here. But it is to generate resources to foster innovation, collaboration, and technical knowledge in people of all ages while equipping them with the tools they need to build the world they imagine. And through the Arrowhead Ranch Foundation, Arrowhead Ranch has become a place for the community to come together, try new things, and share experience. And the number one thing we do through here is the Soapbox Derby. But I want to share a quick story about Curtis, and I don't think my pointer's really working, but Curtis is the young man sitting by the white car on the left side with the real dark hair, kind of longer dark hair. That's Curtis. And Curtis was a racer back in 2008, and today he is a racer. He's a test driver for Ferrari, and his parents still live locally. He's a great guy, but he started back in the Soapbox Derby, and that makes us real proud because we love to see these type of success stories happen
here. So it's really, really great to hear firsthand what's going on at the All-American in Akron, Ohio. And I think Mark hit it right on the head. It's not about the kids racing; it's about the education they're getting from this whole experience and the entire experience that they're here for, whether they realize it or not at the time. But Mark came all the way from Akron to be here tonight to see Arrowhead Ranch, our Derby Downs here in Camano Island, and to see firsthand what came out of one person's dream for a community located all the way out here in the Pacific Northwest.